Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for June 3rd, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Sabranti. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. Hot topics of the day today, Teddy. The Wounded Warriors pick up a win last night in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, an 18-0 run to help jumpstart them. No Clay, no Durant, no problem last night as they pick up the win as an underdog. Klay Thompson, Teddy, goes 10 for 17 from the floor before exiting with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Didn't matter. The Warriors played some pretty good defense down the stretch. We're now tied up at 1, heading back to the Bay Area.
And, I mean, the worst beat of the finals for over-bettors in Game 2. We had a 4-minute scoreless stretch with, 4.5 remaining in the game, and nobody scored. And it ended up staying under the total, and a really bad result for the books on the total. A lot of books went down to 212, 212.5, landed on 213, opened 215, closed 213.5. Whenever it bounces around the number, you know, A, that wise guys are getting the best of it, and B, there's a potential the books lost both sides of that contest. So from a total standpoint, shocking end of the fourth quarter, cashed under bets. That was a really tough beat. From a side standpoint, you talked about that 18-0 run in the third quarter, to open the third quarter, and really that was the difference in the ballgame. Andre Iguodala, quote, "When we started on that run, I was saying, oh, this is good. That's the only time I'm really happy when I can say, oh, we're doing it." And they were doing it, obviously, in that ball game. You know, what did Golden State do? They played Warriors basketball. The defense was there. The three-point shooting was there. The ball movement was there. That's how you go on an 18-0 run in a finals game. And that's what the heart of a champion does. You know, impressive performance from Golden State. And Boogie Cousins, who was not a factor really in Game 1. Well, he had a big-time impact in Game 2. And this Golden State team that, they play small ball. They play small ball. They're not playing small ball now. They're playing with Green at the 4 and either Bogut or Cousins at the 5. So we're seeing a Warriors team shift based on the opponent that they're playing. That's good news, potentially, for Golden State moving forward.
Yeah, Teddy, I actually thought it was a really key. Cousins late in that ball game was really good because when you take a look at getting those key rebounds, even getting fouled twice late down the stretch, nice gutty win by those Warriors. What comes up must go down, Teddy. As we like to say, Siakam was 14 of 17 from the field in Game 1. In Game 2, goes back to 5 of 18. If we take a look at Leonard, finished off with 34 points. It was still a minus 14 overall. We're now worried about his health. So this is one of the more interesting things. When we take a look at the series price now, Teddy, we see the shift again because you see the even up now. It heads back, obviously, to the Bay Area with the Warriors regaining home court advantage, minus 286 plus 230. We're going to talk about an opening line, which is really kind of interesting. But, Teddy, that series price now, what do you think about it?
Well, I was talking about taking Golden State prior to Game 2, so I still believe in the Warriors that they were going to win the series. If you didn't do it before Game 2, I wouldn't talk you out of it here. You're still getting a cheaper price on the Warriors now than you were at the get-go, although it's worth noting Toronto did something defensively with the box and one in the fourth quarter to shut down Steph Curry. You know, fewest points Curry scored in the last 8 games. Now, they were able to withstand that because Lowry had a bad game and fouled out, and Lowry kind of had a bad game in Game 1. Only 2 for 9 shooting, just 4 for 11 yesterday in just 27 minutes, and he fouled out of that contest in a game where Nick Nurse only had 8 guys in his rotation. That's a concern for me for Toronto moving forward. Lowry is always their X factor. When he's not playing well, the Raptors have a hard time winning.
Yeah, Golden State struggled down the stretch. Let's not forget, too, the Andre Iguodala 3. If you are a Golden State fan, we know the struggles that Iguodala's had from the three-point line. That ball's in the air. Why did you shoot? Why did you shoot? Great shot. Great shot. I knew it would get it all the way. Looking forward to Game 3. We'll preview that in just a few moments here. How about this, Teddy? The tagline for the summer, it seems like here in the AL Central, right? Twins win, Indians lose. How about this anemic offense once again as the Indians get shut out? 6 hits, no runs as they drop 3 or 4 to the White Sox, who they're now tied with in the AL Central. And then we take a look at those Twins. Look like they were on cruise control in that ball game, Teddy, versus the Rays. Got tight a little bit at the end, a 9-7 victory. Odorizzi throws 6 shutout innings as the Twins lineup stays hot there. Now sit, Teddy, 11.5 games up on cruise control.
Exactly. And here we are, the first Monday in June, and the Twins have an 11.5 game lead in the AL Central. And look, Cleveland hasn't been hitting, but let's give credit where credit is due for the Indians getting shut down yesterday, and that's Giolito, who has been the single best pitcher in baseball. Forget Scherzer, forget whoever you want to talk about. Giolito for the White Sox. Look at what he's done in his last, 6, 7 starts. Absolutely dominant. Another shutdown effort yesterday. And the markets are catching up with this guy. But that being said, when you have the best pitcher in baseball pitching on a sub-500 team that people aren't paying attention to, you can make money with those guys like the Giolito. As for the Twins, look, that was a statement series for Minnesota. I'll give them credit. Tampa had been playing great ball. I didn't know if the Twins were going to be able to go down there and take care of business. They dominated. And that Twins lineup, which has been hot all year, they battered a Rays bullpen that has been particularly effective in 2019. That's a good sign for Minnesota moving forward.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, Teddy, because obviously 11 and a half games up, odds-on favorite to probably get to the playoffs, as we would know. We'll see if they tack on at the trade deadline, and we'll keep an eye on them as the summer moves along. But we're getting you ready for NFL opening day, as usual, here on SBRodds.com, that betting show. Taking a look at the 2019 team preview today. The Big Apple, we're going with the New York Jets, 50-1 ticket to win the 2019 championship, 25-1 Teddy to win the AFC, and their team total sitting at 7.5, finished 4-12 last year by going 1-5 in the AFC East. New coach, new GM, and a recently opening new GM position there. Looks like Adam Gase won a power struggle with Mike McCagnon, so they are interviewing guys. Joe Douglas out of Philadelphia, also looking like he's a front-runner candidate for that spot. We'll keep you filled in once that takes place. Big money all season. It's really interesting, Teddy, when you look at the Jets, and it seems like they can never get out of their own way. You hire the head coach, you let a GM go through the offseason, spend a lot of money and run your draft, and the minute it's over, you push him right out the door. Obviously, you get Le'Veon Bell. We heard the rumblings out there. Adam Gase didn't want Le'Veon Bell, but they paid him a lot of money. You better be able to use him in a right way. But the one thing I did like there, I like their young wide receiver core there, Teddy. Jamison Crowder comes over from the Washington Redskins. You team him up with Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa. You got a pretty good set. Also spent a lot of money on a linebacker with C.J. Mosley coming over from those Baltimore Ravens, and you get a really good defensive tackle out of Alabama. Things are on the rise there, Teddy, for those New York Jets.
Well, the betting markets seem to think so. And, of course, being how bad the Jets have been in recent years, 4-12 last year, 5-11 the year before, I think 5-11 the year before that. It's been a pretty ugly run for the Jets, hence Todd Bowles being shown the door and Adam Gase getting the job. Now, again, I am a Gase fan, all right? He's getting all this, the Dolphins, one winning season and all these head-scratching. No. Gase probably single-handedly won the Dolphins about 8 more games than they deserved to win during his tenure in Miami. Some of them are lucky. Some of them are coaching. I don't blame Gase for Miami's failures. All that being said, he's coming to New York, media capital. Immediately, there's an issue with the GM, and the GM goes walking him. He won the power struggle. Gase's track record. Let's see. He got Jay Cutler up to speed. Okay. You want a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning? Oh, well, you can do that. Not like Tannehill exploded during his tenure in Miami, but that's his MO. And, of course, he's got a quarterback to work with. Sam Darnold last year, his numbers weren't great. The Jets' numbers weren't great. They finished minus 0.8 yards per play, minus 0.6 yards per rush. Darnold had a 77.6 QB rating, opponents at a 93. They were minus 10 in turnovers last year. Of course, they're going to have a losing team with a rookie QB, limited skill position talent around him, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, the schedule slightly weaker than average. This year, one of the 5 easiest schedules in the NFL based on this year's season win totals. And you talk about some of the additions that they made. You have Loggins as a new QB coach / Gase's OC. You have a team that, you bring in a Quinnen Williams with the number 1 pick, 3rd overall at defensive tackle. Polite, the offensive linebacker, I think is going to have an impact for them. Obviously, a free agent signing like Le'Veon Bell. You talked about Jamison Crowder. Mosley is the big-time linebacker. I think Kelechi Osemele, I should say, is going to be an impact for the offensive line. That's what they need. They need an offensive line that actually blocks for their quarterback and allows some of these young receivers to get open. There's hope for New York this year. There is. I like Darnold. They spent a bunch of money in free agency to win now. The division is not loaded, with the exception of the Patriots, obviously. And it's a team that's stockpiled on some pretty high draft choices that could be primed to break out this season. But major media market, tons of high-profile skill position talent. These aren't the type of teams that we normally find value with on a week-in, week-out basis. Unless the Jets really turn around, Darnold turned into a star, which is possible. That's the upside. The downside is another 4-12 season.
Yeah, I like the Jets. I like where they're going, I like the direction, maybe a year ahead away. Because, again, we're still waiting on the New England Patriots to, quote-unquote, go away at this point. But Adam Gase, with an offensive-minded head coach, now has some weapons, second year, so you're not going to have those rookie mistakes out there. We'll see if it gains this next year. But, again, things looking up there. 4 wins, looking at a Vegas total of 7 to 7.5. We'll see where that ends up. Overnight line movers, Teddy, SBRodds.com, your single best place on the internet to check out those line movements. As we like to say, they're always moving. How about this one here? Wednesday's Game 3 finals numbers posted. And I want to get your opinion on this, Teddy, because looking at it last night, they came out relatively fast. And we're talking about question marks. Will Kevin Durant return for Game 3? Will Klay Thompson be available for Game 3? Looney, who left the last game with a sprained shoulder, will he be ready? Looks like odd makers think they're going to be ready to win. -5.5. They open up total of 213.5. Money line split of +195, -235. Teddy, what say you on this opening line here, huh?
Well, let's talk about where it's moving right off the bat. Okay, there were a couple of books that opened 5 and a couple opened 5.5, and the market's immediately shifted to 5.5. And a couple of prominent books that cater to recreational players move right to 6. And then we've definitely seen some buyback. And the wise guys who played Toronto in Game 1, who played Toronto in Game 2, are most assuredly looking to play Toronto in Game 3. And we're seeing already some of the buyback at the sharper shops, the 5.5s. Well, now there's juice to lay if you want to take it with Toronto. So we're seeing two-way action, but the initial move towards the Warriors from the opener has been mitigated by Toronto money ever since. From a total standpoint, this one opened, again, depending on the book, between 212.5, 214. It's settling right in between 213, which is obviously where Game 2 landed, right on that number of 213.
Teddy, we're going to Klay Thompson, we see the hamstring injury. We'll see if he's able to go Looney. But Durant obviously is the biggest focal point here. When you hear Steve Kerr talk about some of the injuries, he says, look, it's a calf injury. If he injures it again, we're not going to see him again. So one of those injuries that I like to say is, break glass in case of an emergency. If they were down 0-2 going back to Oakland, I think he would force himself back in that lineup. But if obviously we are bettors, we are gamblers, we like to prognosticate and see what's going to happen. Do you think Steve Kerr puts him back in, or is it maybe even a little bit more pressure on seeing how Klay Thompson has now been injured as well, Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, the first report's on Thompson. Thompson says he's going to be fine. People think he's going to be fine. And it wasn't, at the time, it looked like it hurt, but it didn't look like, okay, this is going to kill him for the rest of the finals, as opposed to the Durant injury. But if Thompson isn't good to go, maybe the effort, maybe Kerr is thinking about, hey, let's get Durant into this lineup. And look, you hate to bring a guy back who hasn't played in months and stick him in the NBA Finals, but on the other hand, that guy's Kevin Durant. He's going to make your team better. And I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not expecting it, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Durant suit up in Game 3. If he does, this number likely to go up.
Yeah, Cousins parachuted into the finals, took him a game to get his wheels under him, and then Game 2 looked like he had a pretty good game. How about we talk a little bit of Major League Baseball, some live mood here. Makeup game at Wrigley here on Monday, Teddy, with the wind blowing in. Cubs opened up right around a 150 favorite, rose to around 160. We're taking a look at SBRodds.com right now. Looks like in that mid-160 range, pushing 170s, and a total of 9. Going to be an opener on the mound with Bedrosian versus Lester, the lefty.
Yeah, of course, these two teams split the first 2 of their 3-game set. And then we had a rain out on the last day, which means that 2 teams that were supposed to get a day off today end up playing an afternoon affair in Chicago. And this is tough for the Angels in terms of travel. All right. They literally have a 3.5-week stretch where they're on the West Coast, either at home or playing one of the West Coast teams. And now all of a sudden, a flight back east for this single early start game and then flying back. Joe Madden. I know it's tough for them. They've got to go west, to go east, to go right back. And that's really what this line move is all about, even though Chicago stinks right now. They've lost 8 of 10, and they're batting 183 and scoring 8 runs in their last 4 ball games, where the Angels are red hot. Doesn't matter. The markets don't like the spot for L.A., hence the money coming for Chicago.
Mariners seeing a little bit of line movement on Monday, Teddy. Markets open up at -135, sit at 140. We do have an asterisk here on this game. As you guys know, we do film this show a little bit earlier in the day. Supposed to be Martin versus LeBlanc, but now showing up on some sites here is undecided for Seattle. So we'll proceed as normal here, Teddy, as if LeBlanc is going to start this game. Total of 9.5. The Mariners in sell-off mode here, Teddy. Can we back these guys?
No. The Mariners are unbackable. Again, 13-2. To open the season. They're 12-35 since. They're 16 games back They're in the last place in the division. And, Scott Survey went nuts yesterday. Yesterday, they lead the majors in errors. The 10th time in the last 33 games they allowed 10 or more runs. Quote, some defensive plays, some things we didn't make good decisions on ended up turning into a big inning again. We've seen that. We played this game a few times this year, and I've about had enough of it, quite frankly. When you don't throw strikes and you don't play defense, you don't make plays, it's hard to watch. You have ups and downs with the bat, but you have to make the plays and throw strikes. When you don't, it's bad baseball. I know we're young in some spots and experienced in some other spots, but you have to continue to do the right things. It's about throwing it over the plate and catching the ball. All right, so maybe it's a step-up spot for Seattle. Yeah, the guy who I'm seeing as a starter, listed as starter, is Bedrosian, but it looks like LeBlanc is going to come in and get the ball next. Corbin Martin's not exactly a bet-on guy for Houston. That being said, Seattle hasn't shown any signs of being a bet-on team, hence the lack of money for the Mariners.
Yeah, tell you what's interesting that too, Teddy, is what lineup are we actually getting from the Houston Astros in this one too? Just an interesting one. You have one team that's injured a lot, one team looking to trade everybody away, and you brought up a pretty good point saying all the runs that Seattle's given up. Look, they're not playing in Coors. They're playing in one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks out there, giving up runs. So dark days ahead, looks like, for those Mariners. Let's take a look at Watch What You Bet tonight, a couple baseball games, and we'll get to some hockey. The Phillies hope for better in San Diego. Getting nice weather out there on the West Coast, but not nice results for those Phillies. They got swept out by the Los Angeles Dodgers. They look to rebound today with Aaron Nola on the mound. The Padres are getting plus 133 tonight. Total of 7.5 going to take place at 10:10 tonight. ESPN Plus live from Petco Park. Phillies 33-26 on the season. The Padres 30-29. Nola versus Lauer. Can the Phillies bounce back, Teddy?
This isn't Nola versus Lauer. This is Machado versus Harper, man. These are the two big free agent signings. And obviously, when we look at their stats, Machado's 251, 9 homers, 27 RBIs. 339 on base percentage, 751 OPS. Harper, he's hitting 248, 11 homers, 43 RBIs, 360 on base percentage, 847 OPS. Decent numbers, not 300 million numbers from either guy so far. And yet, both of these teams, noticeably and significantly better than they were last year, even though the two superstars aren't superstarring it. They're just playing good. That being said, Harper's in good form right now. His quote, I've been feeling really good of late. Being able to be in the lineup every day, keep plugging away is huge. You're going to have ups and downs in a season. I went through a little of it last year. It's just part of it. That being said, the Phillies just had a terrible series in L.A. Couldn't get out of their own way. Couldn't get anything going offensively in those contests. Bullpen melted down late yesterday. That's a problem. Lauer's in good form for San Diego, no question. Padres have won each of his last 3 starts. $1.50 ERA during that span. I understand that Nola has been pretty good, and he's shut down this Padres team, and he's owned them at Petco. But, Lauer here, to me at least, makes sense with the Phillies struggling to score runs.
One of those sweats yesterday, Teddy. If you had an under in that Phillies-Dodgers game, you had the bottom of the 7th inning, 2 outs, and nobody on in a 0-0 game. The Dodgers end up tacking on 8 late, but just short of that total. We'll see what happens tonight. Dodgers, speaking of them, Teddy, fresh off the sweep, headed to the desert here. Dodgers-Diamondbacks, where the Diamondbacks are a plus 133, total of 8.5. 10:07 tonight. MLB extra innings package live from Chase Field. We'll see if the roof is open or not tonight. Dodgers 41-19 on the season. The Diamondbacks 30-30. Bueller versus Ray.
So I had an over ticket in that Dodgers game.
Oh,
I was praying for a miracle. Almost got there. The ones that go 0-0 into the 7th, you don't catch many overs with. This close. It didn't happen, obviously. The roof will be closed at Chase Field tonight. The roof will be closed at Chase Field all summer. Moving forward, in the springtime you have to check. Once you get into June, it's going to be 95, 100 degrees. They close the roof every time. Dodgers coming off another impressive series. They won 5 straight, 9 of their last 10. In very good form. Bueller certainly in very good form, although he hasn't pitched as well against the D-backs. Arizona manager Torey Lovullo, quote, we know the Dodgers are marching in here, and we're excited about that. We're playing much better than we were playing last week. Of course, with an 11-game deficit in the division, that's an issue. Arizona could get a key bat today. David Peralta, eligible to come off the DL. He's supposed to be activated today. He's hitting 309 and has really been an impact player for them. Lovullo, quote, I know he wants to be out there, but we don't want to put our athletes in a position where they take a swing or two, then go backward. We're going to see how he feels when he comes into the ballpark. Frankly, I have no strong take on this game, side or total. Best of luck if you decide to bet on it.
Yeah, only 4 games today. Major League Baseball, Teddy. You do have the MLB draft coming up tonight, but before we get to anything else, the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 4. Boy, those Bruins look good in Game 3, shellacking the St. Louis Blues. But how about this? Blues open up here in Game 4 as a favorite, minus 114, total of 5.5, heavily juiced to the under. It's going to be Raskin Binnington tonight for Game 4.
Yeah, Binnington back in play after getting pulled for the first time all season. And this is interesting because obviously we're talking about a goalie who has been tremendous, both in the postseason and during the regular season. Who had a particularly ugly Game 3. And really, the last 2 games, rough starts for the St. Louis Blues. They will have their penalty killer back. Oscar Sundqvist, he was suspended for Game 3 after that illegal check in Game 2, and that matters, obviously, being that Boston went 4 for 4 on the power play, 4 goals in 4 shots on the power play in Game 3. Obviously, that's not a sustainable number, but when you're talking about a Blues squad that has now their penalty killer back in the fold, and in theory, their goalie with a better game, maybe they're more live here. I don't know. Binnington's got to play. That's the bottom line. Obviously, Boston has looked like the better team in this series. They look like the better team all year. And if St. Louis doesn't get that impressive showing from their goalie, might be another long night for Blues fans in St. Louis.
Talk about sustainable here, Teddy, in the off the mic section. How about the sustainability of Anthony Joshua's jaw, which was put on display on Saturday night as high as minus 2,500. Congratulations, Andy Ruiz, for shaking up the boxing world. And one of my favorite quotes of the weekend came from Teddy Atlas. Teddy, Ruiz just wrecked 100 years of physical fitness. How about that upset winner?
Yeah, hey, I mean, when you're talking about the 10-1 dogs and the 15-1 dogs, they don't happen that often in boxing. They really don't. This is like one of the 10 biggest boxing upsets of all time, which shocked me. That being said, here's your heavyweight champ, the big $2, what is it? What was he? Minus 1,000, minus 1,500, minus 2,500 in some spots.
Uh-huh.
Guy's got a glass chin. You can't have a guy with a glass chin laying 2,500. He got knocked down, and even in wins, White hit him. Povetkin hit him. He hit the canvas 4 times yesterday. Klitschko knocked him down. I don't know. Obviously, when the big upsets happen in boxing, everyone's, oh yeah, great. Well, how was that guy favored? I don't know. It's not a bet it's not a fight that I bet. And boxing, I guess any headline's a good headline for a sport that has been dying for the better part of the last 40 years.
We got you through that Monday on That Betting Show for June 3rd, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Safransky. Once again, give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. We'll be back on tomorrow for a full slate of Major League Baseball. Enjoy and cash those tickets tonight, good people.